Hi, and welcome to CryptoBiography. I'm your host, Brandon Starr, and this is episode 163, and it's part 10 of The Island, and the story continues. So I hope you're enjoying it. I'm still enjoying writing it. There's still quite a bit left to go, actually, that I need to do to tell the story completely. So here we go. Aaron finished his water. This time Gwen got him another cupful. Mary and I planned our escape carefully. We knew we would only get one chance. We saved up our money, knowing that we would be starting over. It took months. Because publicly we needed to be putting on the face of the loyal believer, we could only do so much so fast. We tried very hard not to seem to be doing anything differently. Because of that, we could only save money slowly. We prepared items for travel late at night. One long night, I even got a boat ready, hidden near the shore but a good distance from town so it would not be stumbled upon in the few weeks before we used it. Finally, we were ready. Thomas had his 5th birthday. We had it planned for less than 2 weeks after that event. We chose the date as being the most practical. It was one of the few parts of the calendar with no religious events, even minor ones. No one would expect me to do any special duties, and we hoped they wouldn't come to call for a day or two. Usually the members are quite sociable and visit each other regularly. Because of this, we are also going to feign a short trip to some distant family we had just discovered were in the area, with strong hints that we would try to convert them. Although both Mary and I were close to our families, we decided not to make any special attempt to visit them in the few days before our escape. Partly this was so we couldn't accidentally give away any part of our plans. Partly this was to protect them. When it became known that we hadn't seen them for a few days before leaving, it would be understood that they were not in on our escape. The night before, Mary and I talked over our plans one more time. We were ready for everything but what happened next. Mid-morning, Mary and I were preparing for our leaving, which would happen before noon. Thomas was out playing. There was a knock on the door. When we opened it, 6 elders of the church were there, with Thomas. "Your boy here told my boy something interesting," the most powerful of the elders among them said. His name was Elijah. "He said you were going away." "Oh, we are," I bluffed. I went with our cover story. "We're going to visit some distant relatives of mine I just learned are in the area." "That's not how it sounds to us," Elijah said. "Okay," I said. I dared not question him. "We will send a couple of elders along with your family on your visit," Elijah said. "Will they be ready soon?" "We're leaving in about an hour," I replied. "They will?" he said. "Very well, we shall enjoy the extra company," I said. The 2 they chose were Noah and Peter, 2 of the younger elders. Both were chosen for their size and strength. Both of them I knew well, as they were under my father's sphere. The 2 men would ride on the back of our cart. As the seat had springs on it, the 3 of us would be far more comfortable than they would be. Though we hardly had a moment or two alone, since other elders were stationed outside our door, I hurriedly made a plan with Mary. We headed out of town. As you may know, about a mile from the town the road splits. We went south, which would be in the general direction of our boat. "I heard your relatives lived northeast," Noah called from the back of the wagon. This was indeed the rumor we had floated, but I pushed past it. "I'm afraid you heard wrong," I said, shrugging. Out of the corner of my eye, as I turned to face forward again, I saw them look at each other. They weren't exactly buying it, but they weren't going to call our bluff quite so soon. I waited for an hour. The horses were doing well, and the road ahead was flat and smooth. It was time. I handed the reins to Mary and clambered over the back of the seat. I made as if to look for something while I actually secured a cord to my belt. I grabbed a water skin from the seat beside Mary and offered it to Noah. As he raised it to drink, so that he couldn't see over it, I yelled, "Now!" Mary twitched the reins, and the horses went from a walk to a trot. At the same time, I put my boot into his chest. The sides of the cart were quite low, not meant to keep passengers. Noah pitched over the side. Peter showed no signs of shock. He immediately wanted to go after me, but the change in speed had rocked him back as well. He struggled for a moment to get his balance. I tried to push him, but he grabbed me. He was significantly stronger than I, but I had a couple of advantages. One was that I had my feet properly under me. He was still sitting down. The other was the cord connecting me to the cart. I could fight knowing I could not fall out. Peter could not. He hit me hard, and I was briefly dazed, even though he could not put his full weight into a blow from his position. But I stepped back, put my hand on the back of the seat, and steadied myself. Peter, meanwhile, was trying to get into some sort of crouch. He was expecting me to try to kick him over the side as I had done with Noah. One hand was on the side of the wagon, the other was protecting his chest and head from such an attack. Instead, I aimed a kick hard on his knee. I could feel the kneecap slide sideways and heard a pop. Peter yelled in pain. I then kicked again. Distracted though he was, he still grabbed my leg as he started to topple backwards. But then the cord attached to me went taut, and the sudden jerk made him slip. Like a felled tree, he slowly went over backwards until he flopped out of the cart. He wasn't badly hurt by the fall, but I could see by his attempts to stand up that his knee was hurting him. Further behind, Noah lay crumpled on the road. Mary let her hand up off of Thomas. Apparently she had held him down, partly to keep him safely on the seat when she sped up, and partly to keep him from seeing the fight. But now he popped up. "Aren't we going to stop for Noah and Peter?" Thomas asked. "No, son," I said. I unclipped the cord from my belt and climbed back into the seat. "They're trying to harm us. We have to leave them behind. They aren't badly hurt, and someone will come along before long, I imagine, and help them. Okay?" Thomas nodded. "We have a long way to go," I said to Mary. "But we got lucky. They won't be chasing us. Let's slow the horses back down to their walking speed. We have a long way around to go to get back to the boat, to do it safely." The day was sticky with humidity, and there were dark clouds on the horizon. The storm you met me in was coming. Mary and I talked as we drove the horses along. The original plan was we put everything we had in the boat, let the horses loose, while either leaving the cart hidden off any paths or perhaps even pushing it into the sea. The idea is that the horses would probably make their way back to town, and eventually the empty cart would be found, but we would not. It could be crime or horrible accident or who knows what. That, of course, would now have the lie put to it by Peter and Noah. But we decided to follow the plan anyway. Hopefully the cart wouldn't be found immediately, and with real luck, they might think we met an accident and died. But it was not as clean a getaway as we had hoped for. And that's the episode for this week. Obviously, we're still in the thick of things in terms of Aaron's story. And then, of course, there's going to be stuff after that once he has recounted his tale. So there's at least a few more episodes, a couple, 3 more episodes for sure, and possibly more. So I hope you're enjoying it. If you have any comments or questions about this episode or previous episodes, CryptoBiography@gmail.com, or hit us up on Facebook or Twitter. And thanks for listening. Words and music copyright 2020, CryptoBiography LLC, all rights reserved. Characters and events are fictional, fictionalized, or satirical.